the establishment is looking at as an ethnic crisis, I think that may not be the only prism that we must look at. There are many other issues beyond ethnic crisis which are affecting the state. So, affecting the region, in fact, the entire borderlands, including Manipur, I
Yes,
would say.
but this
So,
is
these are
also the responsibility of the leaderships, of political leaderships, of CSOs, of people who matter, who, groups that are run by elders, to think that, okay, we need to come to some amount of dialogue. At this point, they're not even willing to dialogue. So, where is the road ahead? So, solutions have to be found from the government, but also from within the people. And I think everything has to move simultaneously, which it isn't.
Hello and greetings from the Asian Confluence, and welcome to this edition of the ASCON Conversations. Our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi recently visited Manipur, and a couple of days ago there was also some incidents of violence where some military personnel lost their lives. So the situation in Manipur continues to be volatile. At the same time, the Prime Minister's visit does mark a significant milestone in the developments in Manipur. We are here today with two very distinguished guests. I'm really pleased to welcome Lieutenant General Himalay Singh. General Himalay Singh, PVSM, UISM, AVSM, YSM, is a former Lieutenant General of the Indian Army. He's the first officer from Northeast India to reach the rank of Lieutenant General in the Indian Army. And he was also the chairman of the Manipur Public Service Commission and is currently a member of the consultative committee of the Manipur government on the Naga peace talks. And as well as he is a member of the governing council of Asian Confluence. Welcome, sir, to this conversation. I'm also joined here by Dr. Rami Desai. Rami is a distinguished fellow at the India Foundation. And of course, she is a very distinguished author, anthropologist, and researcher with a lot of expertise on the region, the Northeast region, and the neighborhood. So, welcome to you, Rami. And on that note, I would like to ask you, General Singh. Um, Manipur continues to be in a state of instability. Um, and of course, as I said, the visit of the Prime Minister on the 13th, for the first time actually since the outbreak of violence, has been a strong signal. Um, at the same time, we are also having a news of the recent incident right after. It happened on the same road that the Prime Minister took when he went to Churachandpur. So your views on that, and then I think Rami can also chip in after that. Your views on how do you see these developments?
okay. Thank you, Sabya, for your introduction. And good to have Rami Desai on our show of the Asian Confluence. You are right. To begin with, I totally agree with you that the visit of the Honorable Prime Minister was expected to be a game changer, and he has sent strong signals. In fact, the stronger are those which he didn't say during the visit. And uh, my view on the Prime Minister's visit is that this is a part of the ongoing process, but much more powerful. And we hope to see greater focus on solving the issue here. He also laid a number of developmental, projects along with call for peace and prosperity of Manipur. In fact, he used the word Manipur 27 or 28 times. That is, and he appreciated the contribution of Manipur in various fields like our nation building and art, culture, sports, and whatever. But there are certain red flags as well, where people expected far more from the Honorable Prime Minister's visit. There are certain gaps also in the perception of people, how they took it. Overall, it was a huge success, and as a as a person from inside as well as from outside, inside by my physical presence and outside by the idea from how we look at from the national security from the national point of view. I think overall it has been a positive this, but then we have miles to go. I think Rami can chip in and then we can progress this conversation further.
Yes,
Yeah,
Rami,
Rami.
what is your take on the recent developments of the last few weeks that has unfolded in Manipur prior to Prime Minister's visit, his visit, and then what happened after that?
General Himalay Singh, Sabya, thank you for having me on ASCON. I think, this is a very timely conversation to have. And that's why while I'm in Guwahati in the middle of all of this that's happening here and have a flight shortly, I don't want to miss this conversation. In my opinion, and I've written about this, there was an article that I wrote about this in the Indian Express that came out last week as well. I think this had to happen. The Prime Minister was going to come. He was going to come at an appropriate time. He is the Prime Minister of this country. Uh, he was going to, you know, when he came, he was going to come with words of encouragement, of peace, of stability. But also, I think the message laid in not just the fact that he announced the development projects, but he gave a certain trajectory to where the dialogue should be going. And that dialogue was development, whether it was in the hill areas, because we know that there has been, Sabya, a huge amount of grievance in the hill areas about the lack of development. Therefore, those were the projects that were announced because clearly you wanted the Prime Minister to address your grievances. And he was there to do that. There was a great amount of feeling of, I think, joy that he was there because remember that this was an unscheduled road trip that he made from Imphal to Churachandpur. And we saw people line up the roads, the highway to get a glimpse of him. People showed up in large, they showed up to see him speak, to maybe, he also has such a sort of star personality. Maybe that was also a pull power for them. But having said that, the important things here are that he came, he gave a sense of stability, he spoke about development, he laid out a charter of plans on how that would be achieved, whether it was the lack of hospitals that now he has promised to fulfill, whether it was infrastructure, whether it was schools or skilling. This was all addressed. But he also messaged, in my opinion, in two layers. Number one, uh, there were things that were spoken by the governor before he spoke, which was he addressed illegal immigration and said that that would not be tolerated. I think that message coming from the governor, who at this point is also very involved in the security apparatus of the state, was a very, very important message, not just to one or the other community in Manipur, but everybody in Manipur. Number two, he consistently, whether it was the Home Minister or the Prime Minister, they addressed it as Churachandpur. Again, a very important message that went out. When he went to Imphal, we saw a huge amount of, we saw crowds come out to see him. There were extra chairs that needed to be put, almost, I think, a couple of thousand of them. They weren't expecting these sort of crowds. Again, he resonated with the people. So I think it was all in all a very finely curated visit. I think it appealed to the sensitivities of the people. But I know what the next question will be, so let me answer it here. Is that there will also always be the naysayers who'll say that this was not lacking and look what happened 2 days after his visit. We have to see politics for what it is. Anybody who's observed how this conflict has evolved would know that the dangers of something happening uh, close to after his visit were fairly accounted for, at least by people like me, because there are vested interests in Manipur who don't want this conflict to be resolved, and therefore the attention from development will always be brought back to instability. And I think that's what we saw happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I must add here that in the Kangla, that is the ancient capital of Manipur, there were more than 30, 40,000 in the rain. People braved the rain to actually get a glimpse of the Prime Minister. Having said that, what were the red flags? People, the sentiment of the people. Some people, they started talking about when the Prime Minister said that the internally displaced people will be sent to suitable locations. People are saying, why suitable locations? Why not back to wherever they were earlier? I'm trying to discuss um, as to what the sentiment of the people. Also, that is something that is very difficult to actually analyze. Suitable location, what does it mean? So then another factor was that prime minister's visit, they expected some kind of though it was preceded by suspension, extension of the suspension of operations with certain cookie groups. It was also preceded by many meetings between the CSOs of groups. But I would also say that the lens through which the establishment is looking at as an ethnic crisis, I think that may not be the only prism that we must look at. There are many other issues beyond ethnic crisis which are affecting the state. So, affecting the region, in fact, the entire borderlands, including Manipur, I would say. So, these are the issues that people wanted to hear about what actually the plans for bringing peace and stability. What are the plans for the IDPs? What are the plans for settlement, political settlement, though these cannot be addressed or discussed in public. But people did want to hear certain, uh, future road ahead. In that, Honorable Prime Minister did talk about civil societies, आपस में, we must uh, civil societies must gear up for peace and all. What my view is that the civil societies are under the shadow of armed gangs actually. So and also they can do that much and not more. So therefore, there were certain issues which needed to have been addressed during the visit or before, prior to the visit by the authorities. Rami can have your views on what I have just stated, because this is what the public sentiment was. Rami, can
So, with,
you?
yes, of course. So, with all due respect to public sentiments, of course, I would also like to hear what the government's plans are. It helps me study the area better. It helps my work a lot more. It helps my understanding. That's not going to happen. The government isn't going to lay its plan out uh, in the detail, especially its security plans for the future in detail in public. Also, every event has a certain tenor to it, and I think the tenor to this was a healing touch, and I think that's what the agenda laid out was. We should also remember, and again, this can be debated both ways, so I'm not saying this with any sense of finality, sir. People want what people want, and their emotions are justified as well. But we must also understand that anything said by the prime minister, anything that is not agreeable, because he is a man of such stature, also, his popularity is so. And we also have an opposition that really has, in my opinion, played politics throughout this conflict. Um, I think it becomes then incumbent, on the government to be very, very careful about what they say. Anything can be misused, and at this point, when has been relative peace in the last 6-10 months, I think the aim and the agenda of the government is to continue that peace, not to give an opportunity to anybody to take anything out of context or to manipulate the situation in order to keep fanning the fires. I think that is why the incident that we saw that happened, the attack on the AR, um, I think was one of those things that where they knew that doing that would derail some of the processes and bring back the conflict into the public domain. And I think that is something that we need to be very wary of. And I think the government is very wary of that as well. But having said that, you mentioned the IDPs. I think one of the reasons that the Prime Minister said that they will be brought into suitable places is because, sir, as you will appreciate, and uh, I've been to the camps in the hill areas as well as in the valley areas. These camps, while they are, camps, they're not really suitable for, you know, uh, maybe comfortable living. For the lack of better words, I say this. And I think what he meant is that till the situation is absolutely in order, wherein IDPs can go back to their homes in absolute safety and security, maybe, better, more advanced uh, accommodations would be provided. Maybe. I don't know. I can't read his mind. I don't know their plans. But I do understand this, that uh, if people like me, and we're just really just observers, can relate to the fact that it's not safe enough for the IDPs, whether it's from the valleys or the hills, to go back to their homes for the moment. I think it would not. I think the government would feel the same way, and therefore, I think this is just a temporary statement, with a temporary solution, until and unless we can bring peace back. And I think that peace is what is really important. That stability across the state is really important. In my opinion, he really did address some of what the main fears was. One was demographic change through illegal infiltration, territorial integrity of the state, law and order, and future development. I think this is the first step. We must remember that the state never reacts, it responds in phases. And this is one of the phases that the state is at. And it will happen step by step. Unfortunately, it does take the time that it does to alleviate fears and to be able to calm down the kind of anger that we've seen and the fault lines that have come, we've seen it in the last 2 years.
Okay.
You see it
Thanks.
the same way?
Yeah. Thanks, Rami. Another issue that we need to deliberate is about opening of highways. So there are many times it has been announced, many times. In fact, just prior to the Prime Minister's visit also. So people are saying that if we have announced, why can't we enforce it? Because the opposition is negligible. Even many groups from the cookie-dominated groups, they have already announced we never blocked highways. That kind of a announcement has been made. So, but still, somehow that highways continues to be, out of bounds for certain other community. These are the things people are talking. Okay, why can't highways be open to all, be enforced by the government through whatever means they wish? Similarly, the airport, there should be certain facilities for cookie community to come to Imphal. And also after 2.5 years, I thought this is something which was achievable, which can be attempted in spite of all kinds of negative sentiments that are going around. I thought this is one of the minimum, rights of the people to move around freely. This kind of a thing should be facilitated, whatever means the government uses to adopt. And so, I know the compulsions. I know the compulsions. We are trying to discuss it out. People look at it from that point of view that yes, all is okay. The sentiments, the way forward is what we need to get a little more serious about. The way forward, the healing touch, okay, and but 2.5 years, more than 2.5 years, is a long time. Will a popular government come up? I'm not very sure. Uh, I'm very sure that people will try to, form a government, uh, because till February is the first extension has been extended up to February 26th. Before that, uh, before that, will a popular government come into come? So this is what this thing is. So Rami, what are your or what are your views on this, please?
So you understand security and compulsions of security better than I do. Mine is just a very layman's view on it. Uh, I am not in Impal, I am not in Manipur, so it doesn't really give me the right to really comment. But if you were to ask for just a general analysis of what I think is happening, I would really say this. You know, a year ago we kept saying, why hasn't the violence stopped? Why has the state not been able to enforce the rule of law? Now that the rule of law has been enforced, immediately 6 months is not a long time when the conflict has been so disastrous in terms of the fault lines have deepened to such an extent, the dialogue has been so difficult between both the communities. 6 8 months of peace and stability and some amount of normalcy is not actually it's not actually long enough. It doesn't give you that reassurance that we are still on a strong footing. Now, you asked why are the highways not open or why a community cannot come via the airports. I think it's absolutely, it's absolutely disgraceful that they can't, but why is it disgraceful? It's not because these communities don't want to or the government doesn't want normalcy. It's not because of the lack of intent, but it is because of the lack of some sense of security. uh, do the communities feel secure enough to travel on the highways? Do they feel secure enough to take a flight to Impal? No, they don't. Are people willing to risk their lives? No, they're not. Yeah, do you think anybody will take a chance with their loved ones if they say that, oh, we're going to take a flight to Impal and then from there we're going to take a car? Or somebody says, oh, we're going to travel to the hills? I don't think that sense has come as yet. And I think, there is this, of course, while, the government is there for the people and we must hold them accountable as well, there is a sense of responsibility that must prevail on the common man, on groups, on the CSOs as well. It's just recently that, uh, COTU has uh, uh, said that there'll be an economic blockade for 3 days. And I think, this is not doing anybody any favors by continuing to hold the state and its people at ransom. And this is not just one CSO, in the state. This is always it's the one or the other. So where is the sense of normalcy even amongst the people who are supposed to represent the common man? Um, I think you're right when you say, sir, that when you say that the people really need some sense of stability. That people are tired. Sure, they are, and it's very sad that young children have to see this for 2.5 long years. But this is also the responsibility of the leaderships, of political leaderships, of CSOs, of people who matter, who groups that are run by elders, to think that okay, we need to come to some amount of dialogue. At this point, they're not even willing to dialogue. So where is the road ahead? So solutions have to be found from the government, but also from within the people. And I think everything has to move simultaneously. which it isn't.
Rami, I agree with you. The only this thing I like to flag is what is happening is civil society. A lot of people tell me, why can't the civil society stand up?
Hmm.
Other day, I learned that over 4,000 weapons have been recovered in the last 2 years. 4,000 weapons. And it was a great achievement, statistically speaking. But the issue is there are far more than that in the environment. So, with the guns around everywhere in Manipur, everywhere, whether in the valley or in the southern hills, northern hills, everywhere, then the civil societies are. I mean, they have been. I think they many of them are actually under the control of these armed groups. Many of them, not all. So, and the political establishment or political leaders, they have been sidelined to such a great extent. You saw what happened in the beginning. All the, the political leaders of both the communities, they have been actually ill-treated and harassed in public, to a great extent. So therefore, you see a system where every institution, every pillar of the society has been degraded to such an extent that civil society alone or they cannot be held responsible to that extent. Yes, they are part of the institution. They must help. But as I said, under the shadow of the guns. So that becomes difficult. So in this, I will call, going towards, what is the way forward then? We keep discussing. This is not for many discussions have taken place. I have a feeling that most of the agenda has to be driven. One way is that, the civil society must drive the, way forward, the idea of way forward and the paths. The other is that the state government must. Another is the central leadership, because central leadership has the power and the resources to actually address most of the grievances that we are talking about. I will say that all three together has to come into play, and it should not be left to the whims and fancies of the armed gangs, armed people who are dictating the narrative today. That's all that I wish to say. And along with this, political kind of measures to be, initiated. Then security forces, they are doing their job, but they have to be a little more, I think, as far as the violence is concerned. And we have to ensure issues such as the issue of IDPs. The economy has gone to actually such a bad condition today. Education is, I won't comment any further. Education, economy, in every facet of the governance is has to be revived in order to address the issues. We just can't say that these community, they are divided, so let's see what happens. So, but we have to take stronger measures on political, economic, then the security issues and beyond. So this is what I want your viewers to actually feel that it is a whole over state approach which has to be activated, while civil societies themselves have a role to play, but we cannot expect much from them. Yeah.
Sir,
Yes.
you're absolutely right, and I agree on all the points, that you've put forth. But, I'd like to add that we also have to start being more positive. We are in a better place today than we were 10 months ago. We're in a better place today than we were a year ago. And we are limping back to normalcy. Yes, it is not satisfactory to us, but in a situation where people have lost so much, nothing will satisfy us. Even tomorrow, when there's 100% normalcy, there'll still be grievances. I'm not saying that we must hold our standards low, but what I'm saying is that we have to find lasting solution, we have to give it time, because nobody is ready to come on the table. We know very, very well that back channel talks have been happening. You know it, sir. I know it. We know that there have been attempts at dialogue. But also because of the same community pressure that you spoke about, nobody is willing to scale back on the demands that they had. We're still talking about, we're still talking about separate administration. I was on a debate the day the Prime Minister visited Manipur, and one of the panelists straight up, without batting an eyelid, with again all due respect to his sentiments and what he has been through, but said that there can't be any way forward until and unless our demands are met. Now, where uh, can the government beat them up and bring them on a dialogue table? No, they can't do that either because the government is responsible for the whole state. Uh, can the security forces put a gun on their heads and say that no, you please, scale back your demands? No. So I am afraid, and like you said, that these armed gangs, these politically vested bodies, leadership that is absolutely morally corrupt, has held the state at uh, ransom, held their own communities at ransom. What is the need to have a 3-day economic blockade at this point? Who is it impacting? It's only impacting the poor people who are trying to make a daily living, who have already been through, a prolonged emotional backlash from the conflict that we have seen. But we have to muster up the courage to call out this sort of vested interest. And I think that will be very important for community leaders and elders to do. I also feel that when we talk about all these arms floating around, of course we know the situation across the border, and we know that that is going to be problematic. Therefore, there has to be some sort of unity and understanding that the problems that will come from across the border may not be 100% pluggable. We've already seen that the government's announced integrated surveillance systems on the borders, which is not just physical fencing, but it also includes surveillance and patrolling, and depending on wherever whatever is needed. But eventually, borders like that, so very well, that will be only as strong as their weakest links, and therefore communities on the borders have to, have that responsibility, uh, uh, and take it upon themselves to ensure that there is that kind of safety and security and responsibility that that they can take and their communities can take. Um, all in all, sir, I think when it comes to again public representation and popular government being reinstated, again, I personally feel there's time for it because there isn't a leadership that is acceptable to everybody. So I think there's still time for that, and I think that would be the best way forward is to cement the foundations of the stability that we are seeing, not to hurry anything, and look at it positively.
Yeah. Any comments, General
Yeah,
Singh?
yeah, I agree with what Rami has just said that we have to wait. We have to wait. Things cannot be hurried up in a situation of this kind. That is something that totally I agree, and I also agree that various pillars of society have been discredited to such an extent that, including the political leaders, discredited that they are not able to actually drive the agenda. The agenda is being driven by the armed gangs, and we need to go slow and ensure that slowly things happen or things are facilitated towards a dialogue process and also finally some kind of a peace. I think all that we agree today is that we have to wait and see. We have to work hard. All the branches of the state, um, including the state, the center, the governance system, the civil societies have to work harder. The administration, the security forces, work harder towards achieving that goal because there are certain aspirations of the people which may not be met in the circumstances that we are talking about. So that's all. I think we need to be very careful while while charting a future course, but I'll still call for greater focus on the people. There are 3 million people involved here in this place, and also the issue of national security is given the environment neighborhood that very unstable neighborhood we have, so we need to think it a little more seriously and plan our way ahead with a little more care, keeping the national interests in mind. Finally, national interest. That's all I have, Sabha. And unless Rami wants
Yeah,
to add something, I think
I,
I
I,
really enjoyed.
I'll
thank you.
just
But thank you. You were saying something, Rami. Yeah.
I'll just quickly add, Sabya, it's always a pleasure to, have a discussion with General Himalay Singh. It's always a learning experience. And obviously, with you, Sabya, who knows so much about this region. But I'd like to say, today is the first day of Navratri. If we don't have hope, what do we have? And, with that, let me just tell you a little snippet. I went to a restaurant and the staff there came up to me and said, ma'am, I know you. And the lovely young boy, and he said, "Ma'am, in this restaurant, us, cookies and metis, both of us work together, and we have no problems amongst each other. And ever so often we go out for a drink as well, but we can't do it publicly. So there are stories like this, and that really tells you that the underlying sentiment really is that there is brotherhood and a sense of camaraderie still that exists amongst the all these communities, and we just need to be able to bring that to the surface.
Yes, I think Rami, that's a very um, that's a very apt ending to this conversation. I think because it brings hope on this special day on the beginning of Navratri, but also uh, it does show that there is there is ample scope for talks, micro level interactions, talks, conversations to happen between various factions, between various groups, between various communities. Um, Perhaps that's the way forward. I'll leave it at a question mark. More of conversations, between differences, between differing viewpoints. But on that note, it's always a pleasure to have General Himalay Singh and Rami and thank you so much for being part of this, and I'm sure that our viewers will really enjoy this conversation. Thank you very much for your time, and look forward to taking things forward. More such conversations. Thank you.